Zahner? You sure?
Zahner.
Okay. Well, hello everybody, and we are still here at Barber for Small Bore, and we're coming into our afternoon, and I have new friend, Chris Zahner of
Zooz Bikes.
Zooz Bikes.
And otherworldly things.
And so you're here at Small Bore for the activities and fun. I've talked to a lot of fantastic folks that are pro, stunt riders, and the corporate guy over here. You're just having a good time.
Just here for the fun.
And so I met you through David Chang in our Equal Friends and All Things. And I come to find out you are one of the founders of Zooz Bikes.
Correct.
And Zooz Bikes these are the pedal assist? What is the actual...
It has pedal assist, but that's not the main use case. The main use case is the throttle.
Oh, okay.
And so when the electric bikes started coming out, I realized that it had a throttle, and I was like, interesting. Well, how much throttle can you give it? And turns out there's really no ceiling on it, but my use case, I didn't go out to start a company. I was trying to solve an issue I had because I was living in Chicago at the time, and it's not the greatest motorcycling city out there. Lots of traffic, lots of straight roads.
What are you talking about? It neighbors of Wisconsin right there, Harley Davidson.
Right. So you can get out of town, but you're going to be at least 3 hours from any kind of like elevation change, turns, all this other stuff. And I wanted more on-demand two-wheel fun. And it kind of just struck me out of it. I kind of stumbled upon, well, if I build an electric bike and it rips, what would riding be like in Chicago? And all of a sudden, all the topography that you can't really do on a motorcycle, at least not reasonably, is now available to you. So that's back alleyways, loading docks, ramps. Chicago has this whole like subterranean layer downtown, and I live downtown. So I would go out after I built, the second one is when I really dialed it in. The first one was just to test the components, see what they do. And I actually used all those e-bike components from the first one and rebuilt the second one. I built the frame, my own geometry and design and all this other stuff. And it was just an absolute blast. It was a little bit faster than the bikes that we make now, but not too much. And I would go out at like 10 or 10:30 every single night and just drain a battery, ripping around the city because it was less traffic. And
from my vantage point, the Zooz bike is it of all the EV bikes I see out there, it is the most traditional build. It looks like a bicycle.
It does. And it definitely looks like a BMX. And
it's a BMX.
A lot of people say, "Oh, you electrified the BMX. It's for BMXing or whatever." Never really intended to do that. There's no real reason to put an electric motor on a BMX, but there are certain characteristics of a BMX, such as strength and just general simplicity of design, that were very effective in the kind of ride that I wanted to create with this bike, which was just to go have fun. So it's a purpose-built machine, or at least that's the intention.
And the purpose
go
is
fast,
fun.
Stop fast, and have fun is the common denominator.
When you, how long has this been in existence?
Well, I built those first two bikes in late 2017 into 18, and then a friend of mine, Pete Kelly, saw what I was up to because I was posting it all on Instagram, and he was like, dude. So it was actually July 3rd, it was the day before Independence Day, and we kind of shook on it, and it started there. And we woodshedded it for quite a bit to really kind of get it right. And we launched in January of 2020, like right before COVID. We actually knew that was happening because the suppliers were kind of like, oh, we kind of have a problem over here. Like, American population doesn't care about your problem. And so we went for it, and it just took off.
And so the timing of that too, and forgive my unfamiliarity with the landscape of EV bikes. You know, there seems to be so many now.
Yes.
You know, there's mountain bikes, there's pedal assist, there's, you name it. When you came in, was there a lot of competition, or you're like, oh, we're in our own pocket of this experience?
We intended to be in our own pocket, and there wasn't there wasn't so much competition. These days, we would say we're in the kind of lifestyle electric bike space, a la Super 73. They're the big fish in this category.
When did 73 get started?
A couple years earlier. They had about 3 years jump start on us, and it was definitely an indicator to us that, oh, this can actually be a thing, and we wanted to build something a little bit different, and I think they do perform and show up a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, we wanted a performer, and that's who we've attracted, is the people who want good hydraulic brakes, that want as much power as, well, we can legally deliver. We'd like to deliver more, but we got to kind of stay within the lines a little bit. We're like 10 toes over the line.
Got it. And so as you've developed into the brand you are, and the fun that you've created along the way, do you have benchmarks set out that you're like, we want to continue into the space in the traditional builds that you have, or?
Yeah, so we have a product roadmap of new bikes that we want to bring into our offering, and then long ideas into the future. The past 18 months for the whole industry, and us included, we all breathe the same air, have been a little bit more tumultuous, so it's shifted a little bit, and what I mean by that is the exact path is not like, oh, I have it scribbled on a napkin over here and that's going to be it. So we'll see, but at the end of the day, you know, there's gas, there's electric, there's this and that, but an event such as this, you see so many different kinds of bikes, even though it's geared towards one subsection of bikes. And I see that as a natural evolution for electric anything, and that's what was intriguing about it to me, and I'm still very hopeful about what is still yet to come in electric and other propulsion technologies that might be not really in our vantage point right now. Like hydrogen would be cool, but I think that's a harder nut to crack.
Okay, let's go build that bomb. So as you came into the space and you found a home in it, what have you kind of like bumped into along the way because of it, that you're like, you
very interesting question.
Yeah.
Very interesting question. So I've been building things for a long time, and I've known David Chang, who you brought up, for longer before Zooz. I was pitching him Zooz, like, this is what I'm going to do. What do you think? We'll give you some feedback. But, you know, there's it's a small space, and it's very tight, but there are so many characters, and I come to know a few over the years, but then, ironically, I build Zooz, which seems to be like a very other kind of thing, and it has opened up doors and connections.
So Zooz is out of your box. It is the out of the box thing that you found yourself in.
It was especially out of the box for me, and now, you know, I'm that guy in that box.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
Which, oddly, there's a company here called Man in the Box. You familiar with this?
I am. They throw on this thing.
This is their event that we're at. I wasn't familiar with it, and then the lettering itself was melting my brain until I explained this. Man in the Box.
Same problem.
Yeah. But so now that you are that guy that does that thing, the doors that it's open, have you found it's exciting to you? You're on a path that you didn't anticipate. You're like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Absolutely. And it's not something I was expecting nor chasing, but it has been incredibly invigorating and created a whole new subset of ideas of things that I'd like to do and try, either within Zooz or outside of Zooz.
What is, when you guys had these little roundtable discussions, if Zooz is a bike, it's two wheels, it's a frame, it's electric, what else do you guys like? What about blenders? Like, do you guys like have come up with those like crazy ideas?
You know, that's a box that I find difficult to think outside of. I'm very functional kind of person. We've had some crazy ideas, but not in the like abstract world of whatever. We are currently putting a Traeger grill, marrying it with a bike, but it's actually made me scratch my head a couple times. Like, how do I do that where it doesn't look like Pimp My Ride?
What is that? Yeah. What are you like? You're out at a sports field or something like that? Like,
well, it's a collab with
glizzies
Traeger,
off my Zoozies.
There you go. That's what we'll call it.
You can. Yeah, I'll take 10%.
Okay. I'll send you over to Traeger. They'll pay you.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I just imagine, so when you develop the relationships between the manufacturers of the batteries, of the frames, of the things, all of a sudden you realize, wow, with just an email I can actually create this other...
You nailed it. It's not exactly that easy, but I did find it as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that's where persistence and kind of creativeness, ingenuity, gumption, walking in the door and saying, hey, I'm here, I do this, and we're going to do this together.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes a long way. And, sometimes it's not so surprising when I do it, although some people are like watching it all happen, unfold, and they're like, holy shit, how are you doing this? And I was like, I just walk in and tell them what I want. But then you look back and you're like, holy shit. You kind of see all the checkpoints along the way. And you're like, wow, okay. But that just, fuels you for the next thing that you can go do. And it's been really exciting.
Well, so you found yourself all the way over here in Alabama from Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
How do you roadmap your schedule? Like if you're the Zooz guy and you do the Zooz thing, like.
Well, I have a team. It's a small but mighty team, and we don't really get out of the office too much.
Mm-hmm.
We're all very dedicated, very much locked in, but we have to take these kind of breaks, and nobody really questions why I have to go to a motorcycle event.
Yeah.
Because we all are the same kind of people. We all, Sterling is here with me. He's one of the guys on the team, and the other guys cover.
Mm-hmm. And then with that, are you doing any business here, or is there any business to be done, or are you like, no, this is fully just for me?
It's totally just for me, but because I'm here and we have the Zooz tent and we're riding around on a couple Zoozes, the work is kind of already done, and especially this event, such a casual and like a celebratory event. It's not really for vending. Sure, there are vendors here, but they're here to support, and we could have certainly set up next to them, but I think that we would have hit the mark just as much, maybe not as much, but the bikes are here and that's what matters. Mm-hmm. And that's when you catch as many people's eye, is when they see the bike in the wild.
Practical application.
Yeah.
I think Greg, Sonny, who puts this event on, this is new to me. Are there a lot of these types of events around the country, or is this kind of a one-off as it is?
I mean, Barber in itself is a one-off.
Barber is, in fact.
It's a special thing. So I actually learned this weekend that there isn't another such event like this in eastern Tennessee. And I think Man in the Box does have something to do with that, but I'm not sure. I would like to see more, that's for sure. I like the concept of taking kind of a corner of a very large kind of group of things that fit together as an umbrella term, but don't really mix and match. Like adventure bikes and pit bikes do the same thing, but they don't do the same thing.
Right.
So taking one and throwing up a huge event around it, I think galvanizes the people that really love it, and they all show up and have a good time, such as what we see here.
And that's kind of the crowd I see too. Is that the typical Zooz rider, or who's riding Zooz?
There are many Zooz riders, actually. There are a lot of, I would say the primary customer are returning to any format of two wheels for the first time in a long time, where they grew up maybe riding a BMX around their neighborhood when they were 13 or younger, and now they have a new use case. They live in an inner city and they want some easy, fun transportation that is kind of light on maintenance or general burden of ownership. And then other people that are chasing their kids around, right? Mm-hmm. Like my kids on something, I want to chase them around, so I got myself this thing. But for people here, I think that if you ask anybody riding a motorcycle around here, it's not their only motorcycle.
Yeah.
They have 2 or 3 or 10 or more. And so this is just another tool to throw in their quiver to bust out at a certain particular application. Now, here is to celebrate the pit bike.
Right.
But Zooz in itself, functionally speaking, is a fantastic pit bike for actually cruising around the pits because it's low maintenance and because all you have to do is plug it in and it's silent. You don't have to put gas in it. You don't have to.
From my limited experience in all things EV, it seems to be the most unobtrusive electric bike I've seen.
Thank you for that. That was intentional.
It is so subtle that you look at it, you go, that's a bicycle, it's a BMX bike. And then you go, actually? And very quickly you realize it's not. And so, as you described, that's intentional. I would be curious if that is a big play for a lot of people. They're like, oh, I want something that doesn't look like a freaking rocket ship. You look at some of these, they're like, how many things can I bolt onto this, to make it... I'm like, you just built a motorcycle. You have a motorcycle. Don't call it it's not an EV bike.
Yeah, I see those people too, and I scratch my head sometimes, but vehicles and like this format, the bikes here, or our format, these things are a form of self-expression, just like the shoes you wear or the color you paint your house or how you decorate your living room. Your vehicle is that, and some people, you know, go a little overboard, and that's okay. That's just how it is. That's them. And like I said, especially the people that are new to the space, that's their entry point.
Right.
And they may evolve. They may go get a leader bike or something down the line.
Zooz to a leader bike.
And so I do I like that gatewayness of the format that we have. You don't only have to ride a Zooz. I hope you ride many things, but if you started there, we're doing God's work, brother.
That's it, man. Well, so you speak to, you know, the out of the box thing being the electric bike, and it's been such a fun experience since then. Prior to being a Zooz manufacturer, what were you doing? Who are you?
Well,
a man that wears fantastic overalls.
Yep. Overalls are new for me, but
yeah, I've seen the third change of this outfit. You know, it's great.
I'm not going back.
When I met him in the Barber Museum, I was like, this is a man that runs trains for certain, because you're pulling him off so well.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Who am I? Where did I come from? Chronologically speaking, I was always reaching for tools and building things since a very, very young age. I didn't know what I was doing, and those tools were just, were collecting dust in the garage. I didn't really come from a family or an ecosystem where there was building. Or
Dad wasn't a mechanic.
Not really. I mean, he can swing a hammer and stuff, but he wasn't like, you know, the tool man or doing stuff all the time. Yeah. But I was always building stuff since forever, and I found opportunities or places to be nurtured and grow and have opportunities to do that stuff. And it was one thing to another, but it was always motors and wheels. That was always my direct passion. Started with go-karts, like wooden downhill go-karts when I was like 6 and 7 and 8. And then I begged and finally got my dad to buy me a welder at 12. Taught myself how to weld.
Just like all 12-year-olds do. They want a welder.
And then
you're stacking dimes.
I was building random stuff. It started with go-karts, and then at that time, like middle school, high school, Motorcycle Mania with Jesse James, American Chopper, not really my speed, but that was still access. It was like, even just watching, that was some of the most access I had to stuff or ideas. So I was already hooked there, and then family requirement, I was forced to go to college, which is not really a school person. Had a lot of fun. I mean, but thanks, Mom.
When you brought up quiver, your vernacular is quite lush.
Thank you.
So while education might not be
sure. I think more of that came outside of college, but sure, I'll take that. So anyway, I had to go to school, and I was like, I don't want to just go to fucking college. Yeah. But then I learned about Formula SAE, which is an intercollegiate competition where engineering students have to design, build, and then compete in a Formula-style race car.
Oh.
And this has been going on for like 30, 40
Is this
years.
super common knowledge to people, engineers, or?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not a huge thing. It's not common knowledge, like even in the paddock here. If you asked anybody, I think most people would not know about it. But it's definitely well established, and I learned about that in high school. I was like, I'm only applying to schools that have this program, just so that I can't get pulled in some strange direction. And then of all the schools I got into, which wasn't very many, and they're all very conditional because I did not have good grades. I chose.
Did you tell me you were a good welder, though?
Well, I chose based on the team that I liked the most, and I showed up on day one, and I built the chassis. I built the suspension. I didn't design it. That was like senior design project team leads and shit. But I built the chassis, I built the suspension, I built the exhaust, I built the seat, I built the gas tank, and I helped with the aero package. And through that, one of the earlier team, he was no longer in school there, but he was working in a hot rod shop, and the guy was selling it to retire, and he bought the hot rod shop. And so I actually quit the Formula team.
What was that experience? You coming to school with all that skill set already? Is that something that like you're already like blowing the doors off? They're like, oh shit,
They were impressed.
We didn't know you had the technical skills actually already. We thought we were going to teach it to you.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty accurate. But mainly enthusiasm and dedication. That goes even farther. And so I would say I had a base skill set. I had never TIG welded before I arrived there.
Okay.
But I showed up, and in 1 week I was TIG welding fine. Because I understood welding, and I could MIG weld no problem.
Right.
And I knew the concept of TIG welding. It just takes practice. So
Got it.
did that, and then I was only on the team for 1 year, actually, because I got a job in a hot rod shop. I was like, I can do cooler shit that I'm more interested and get paid. I got paid nothing, but I was...
For the time.
Yeah. And so...
Well, and the money you saved on school, I mean...
Well, I extended my scholastic career just to stay at the hot rod shop, really.
Got it.
I actually didn't fail any classes, but I did, like, the slow, like, 4 classes a semester instead of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Stretched it out, But I learned a lot there. That was a huge, like, a quantum leap for me, because I was just... I don't know why, but I was allowed to touch all the machinery and made a couple mistakes here and there, but they weren't like egregious or unfixable, and there was trust there, and I could work on my own project. So I built my first motorcycle there because that was like a dream since before all of this happened. Now I had access, and he's like, have at it. So I built the first... What's up, brother?
Keys really quick. We're getting rain in the Solara.
Oh, shit. They're actually...
Rain in the Solara!
They're,
There's some minor hang up.
No, all good. I like the E-Man open door.
We can't get the Solara.
Don't cut any of that out, please.
No, leave that.
That's Zach. He'll be on the hot seat next.
So this is going somewhere, I promise. So I built my first motorcycle.
If I've learned anything in the 36 hours I've known Chris, is he is eloquent in his storytelling, and he waxes so poetic that he even reminds the listener that this story is going somewhere before he buttons it. So please.
So I built my first motorcycle, and it was a full frame-up build. I built a frame jig, built the frame, built the tank, the seat, everything. Just front wheel, rear wheel, front end, motor, and all the little things you plug into a motor was all that I used. I built everything else. And since then, I think I've built like 14 bikes, and it was never really for like to make a show bike or this or that. They're just kind of ideas and impetus, and so I just kind of get to work. And I haven't really built anything for myself or any kind of those projects during the Zooz years because it takes so much energy and focus. And at the end of the day, I was building something. I'm building the business, building the brand, building the bikes, and so I actually just changed my ways for this show. I built that bike that you saw.
Right.
It's a return to form, which is a lot of fun.
And that was just 3 weekends?
3 weekends.
Well, I'm in the market. Is it a possibility that as you've, you have the skill sets, you did the things, you learned the education and equally the lessons along the way, and now that you've built, this brand, this bike, assuming the future of all vehicles, it's self-driving, it's electric, it's blah, 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 blah. Are you not finding yourself in a potential of a future career in electric motorcycles?
Specifically that, perhaps. But what I would say is that I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I have a lot more that I would like to do, will do. I have some ideas.
In the bicycle space? Just ideas.
Two wheels and motors.
Okay.
Do I want to build faster, more like serious things? Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But for me, there's always kind of like a rhyme and a reason for whatever it is I do, and those things kind of just show up eventually.
Yeah.
If you're hanging around and doing stuff, then the opportunities arise.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks. Keep consistent. Keep plugging away.
Yeah, man.
And you, too, can own a Zooz.
ZoozBikes.com.
ZoozBikes.com. So this is the part of the show that you can actually hype whatever you're interested in, whatever you think needs attention. You got that camera that I realize now I may have just bumped into it, but it's a little cattywampus. But please.
Hype things that deserve attention.
Or just something you give a shit about, whatever.
Well, I give a shit about this event, and I had several opportunities to not show up because of inconvenience. I was like, no, I'm fucking going. I've been to Vintage Fest before once, and that
2017,
7 years ago. So I feel kind of ashamed that I haven't been to this place.
I was
more.
embarrassed for you.
Yeah, and this is such a special place, Barber. If there's any reason to go, even if you're on a road trip and you just swing through and go to the museum, it's not just a world-class museum. It sets the pace, in my opinion. I've been to the Audi Museum, which has a lot of motorcycles. DKW was kind of like a predecessor to, there's like pre-war stuff, but they have a lot of motorcycles, and it's Audi. Like, it's incredible. And this is smokes that.
Yeah.
The grounds, the people, especially at an event like this, there's stuff to do. We just came from a hill climb.
We did, in fact.
So come here, do this. If I can hype one up in the front of my mind, come to Barber for any event or just to go to the museum.
And akin to that, come to the museum, come check it out, and then equally kudos to Greg, Sonny, Man in the Box.
Thank you guys.
And then
You guys are
Small
awesome.
Bore. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no idea what this event was. It was as much that I got invited by David, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
And I've met so many fantastic people, and I've had a good time, and so come check it out. And thanks for your time.
My
and I
pleasure,
look
man.
forward to where our conversation takes us.
Yep.
Maybe Germany.
Or wearing overalls.
When we met, we were both wearing overalls, and he was just pulling them off so well, I had to take mine off. So
I won't tell you what I saw. That was cool, man. That was easy and flowed very well. You do a great job too.